Hey, good afternoon to you. I just wanted to give you some information on some assignments that are upcoming and also talk a little bit about our textbook and then also as well about how to market yourself and position yourself for good professional opportunities when you graduate. First thing that I really wanted to mention is related to, discussion board 2 and M Global trying to get that bid for Black Forest University in Germany. One thing for sure, from country to country, standards are so much different. And I'll give you a good example of that. I lived in San Diego for 7 years. I was in the Navy, then I went to school out there. And it's really weird in San Diego, or California as a whole, how they have these strict laws, like for emissions. And then again, you also see vehicles from the 60s, like I've seen old Volkswagen buses or old Beetles and older Porsches that just spew out all this pollution and everything. And it's very strange that they have these strict laws, but then on the other hand, they have these other types of, they don't enforce some of these other, restrictions out there as well. But I'll tell you what, when you go to Mexico, I went to a Spanish language school down in Ensenada, Mexico for like 3 weeks, and the laws down there are just totally different. The pollution laws are much more relaxed, and you see, factories that really don't seem to have anything to reduce the smoke from them, or vehicles that just belch diesel smoke and whatnot. So the point about it is, as you go from country to country, but actually even if you go from state to state in the United States, I know some students in this class are actually in Texas. Texas has some pretty lax environmental laws there, and they're a pro-business state, and so their regulations are probably not as strict as they are here in Pennsylvania. In Pennsylvania, the rules and the laws and things or so on are pretty strict for this Marcellus shale gas. And I know that there's a power plant up in Homer City near Indiana, and they're after them, and they're actually going to be doing it to reduce the amount of emissions that they have. So I just use that as an example that if M Global goes to Germany and does that job there are laws and rules and even unwritten rules that are helpful to know. And if you have experts from the country, it's so much easier to figure those out. I also had mentioned to a couple of students, there's a large waterproofing, sandblasting, building restoration company in Greensburg called Ramondo. And anyhow, the owner is probably in his 40s, I suppose, and his father before him ran the company. But at one time when they started out, I mean, they did plenty of small churches, like brick churches and so on. They restored barns. And then they also did many of those older Pennsylvania homes that had those 2 or 3 chimneys. They would, sandblast them and clean the brick and repoint them and so on. And recently, they have done the Blessed Sacrament Cathedral in Greensburg, which was a huge undertaking, because not only do you have to do the interior or the exterior, but also the interior. And so they did that. They did the Westmoreland Courthouse. I believe they did the Somerset County Courthouse. And so, but they have these much bigger jaws. But my point is that they've kind of started small and have expanded, from there. So sometimes, like if you get full force into something, like working at a university or a building there, and you've never done that before, you can run into unexpected sorts of situations. So anyhow, I looked at those last night and I commented on them, and then I'll look at them, one more time this week. With the customer service evaluations you have to do for this week, as much as possible, try to bring in specific examples. Specific examples really are helpful. And here's why. There's a student that was in this class. His name was Kevin, and he's a certified inspection mechanic, so inspects vehicles and trucks and lots of other types of things. But anyhow, he works at a company in Greensburg. I saw him actually at the academic award ceremony here at WCCC. But the company is called Serra Auto, and they're a Toyota and Lexus specialist. So that's what they really focus on, but they also do other foreign types of cars. But he is a really, really good example, and I like this example a lot. He said the owner is named Sal, and he said that he likes you to be productive and he likes you to try to save money for the customers, or to be honest with the customers. If they need, new brakes and rotors, tell them that, and even if they're close, advise them, say, yes, your tires are at 330 seconds, but, if you're going to be driving this vehicle during the wintertime, you may want to consider new tires because 230 seconds is the absolute minimum. And so anyhow, he used, when you talk to customers, try to be honest. But one of the things that Sal has employees do is on these Toyota Camrys between a certain number of years, there's a portion of the exhaust that just sort of corrodes and falls off, or, it breaks apart. And so Sal, what he has the mechanics and the other people there do is, when they're not busy, is weld these pieces. So when this piece breaks, if you go to a Toyota dealership, they're going to say, okay, we're going to have you put in a new exhaust from the front of the manifold to the exhaust pipe, and that's going to be $2,000. When they do it at Serra, as Kevin said, I think it's like $180 or $200 just to replace this piece, and with welding and everything. And that saves customers money, and that's a really, really good specific example. There was another student that I had that worked at Nemacolin Woodlands golf course, I believe it was, up in Farmington, and they gave a customer the wrong car. So they had somebody that drove to the customer's home in Pittsburgh and gave them the right car, and also gave them a gift certificate for the spa, maybe for $100 or $200. But those are good specific examples. You can't say that the company is difficult to deal with. Give an example. And something that I wanted to tell you too is sometimes some companies are really, really good to their customers, but not always employees. And a good example of that is the Texas Roadhouse in Greensburg. I've heard this from a few students. Sometimes customers will take advantage. They'll eat like 3/4 of a steak, and they'll say, well, I don't like this steak. It wasn't well done enough or whatever. And so they'll ask for another one, or they'll ask for a discount. And so sometimes they take advantage of that situation, and some of the students there have said that. But if you use specific examples, that's what I would encourage you to do. When you end your paragraphs, use statements like clearly, without a doubt, there is no question, and so on. You really want to do that. Something else that I really wanted to get back to in relation to discussion board 2 is try to avoid using so many opinions. I read some that had like, in my opinion, I believe, I think, I feel, and so on. With something like that, just basically state the key facts, and then when you draw conclusions, you can use therefore, thus, consequently, and so on. One of the big areas that I would advocate for here at WCCC, and probably this will change in the near future because we are getting a new college president, I, myself and some other faculty here would like to see what's called an instructional technologist. And so, we presented a proposal to the college president and the vice president and a couple faculty. But, we gave the numbers as far as this many percentage of our classes are online, that we do hybrid courses, and, technology is really increasing at this rate and that rate. And then we drew a conclusion is in hiring an instructional technologist, it would benefit the college faculty and students in this way, and so on. But, in writing that, we didn't write, in my opinion, or we believe, or whatever. We just use, state the facts, and so thus the college would benefit, or therefore students would benefit, by being more technologically savvy when they graduate, and so on. So, anyhow, try to avoid, in cases like that, your personal opinions, and don't start off in my opinion or I believe. Basically start off with a a statement of facts. When you go to court, you notice that the attorney will, the defense attorney or the prosecution will give a series of facts, and then they'll give a conclusion. And I'll give you a very, very good example. There was a CVS drugstore on Donahue Road here in Greensburg that was robbed by these two men, and they had masks on, but they held the one customer at gunpoint. And anyhow, I think they stole about $15,000 of prescription pain medication, so it was quite a bit as far as that goes. So, they appeared before closing time. They held a customer at gunpoint. They stole $15,000 of pain medications. They stole this amount of cash, and they went through it all. And so then the prosecution said, therefore, it was their intent, to take these drugs and to sell them or to consume them. But they didn't say, in my opinion. They just said, therefore, and so on. So that's enough on that. I just wanted to mention that. Now, in looking ahead, I wanted to tell you that for next week, Friday, the 13th of June, there are 2 items to do. The first one, I really wanted to talk about this a little bit today. You're going to have to write a proposal for your consumer report. You're going to have to consider 3 brands of a product, the similar types of, 3 types of brands that are similar, and then of a product, and then choose one. So, for example, somebody that was in this class 2 years ago, actually got some pictures from him. He bought a cruising kind of motorcycle, and he bought a Suzuki Boulevard 800 cc's. It's like a cruising motorcycle. They're very inexpensive, but they're really quite good. But he looked at the Yamaha V-Star, and he looked at the Kawasaki Vulcan, and then he inevitably chose the Boulevard. And so, but he basically, they were all 800 or 900 cc motorcycles, and then, they were all pretty similarly priced. And so he did a comparison between the 3 of them, and then inevitably chose the Boulevard. And when you do your proposal, though, at the discussion board, I want you to spend some time, at least between now and next Friday the 13th, doing some research. Don't tell me I'm going to be looking at 3 brands of small cars. I don't know what type I want. I'm just trying to figure out what I want to look for. That's not going to do it. I want you to try to figure out something you might buy now or even in the next 2 years, and try to do some research. But don't, like with digital cameras, like if you're going to buy a new digital camera, if you're going to buy a tablet, at least tell me the brands and the model numbers that you're considering, and so on. So like right now, I'm considering buying a tablet, and I'm considering the Dell, I think it's the Pro 8-inch tablet. I'm looking at that through Costco. I'm looking at the Samsung Galaxy or Tab, that one, and then also the Kindle Fire. I think it's the FX or DX. But anyhow, try to do some preliminary research so you can figure out what you're doing. So sometimes people post these proposals and they're just really, really general and really, really broad. The other point that I want to tell you is make sure your products are similar, because like this past spring, somebody was looking at a Jeep Wrangler, like an off-road sort of vehicle, and then they were looking at the Mazda CX-5, which is a crossover vehicle, and then they were also looking at the Honda CR-V, which is also a crossover CUV. So anyhow, the vehicles that, or whatever you look at, all have to be similar. The other thing that you have to do is for Friday the 13th is there are some examples in this red booklet that I sent to you. There's actually one by Pam Hedges in there, and I can't remember who the other one is, but you have to find an article of at least 5 pages from something related to your field or even closely related. And what you're going to have to do is summarize it in 3 different ways. So you're going to do like a visual sort of summary, and then a longer summary of around 1,000 words or so, and then a shorter summary of about 300 words. So if your longer summary is 1,000 words, and your shorter summary will be 300 words. But that's really what it is. You're presenting the same information in 3 different ways, and believe me, you are going to have to do that throughout the course of your career, because that's something that's really, really important to do. Pat McCullough, the IT director here at WCCC, said at Kennametal they went to SharePoint, and that is everything's based on the cloud, and everybody has access to all the Microsoft Office products and collaboration tools. But I think it cost $350 an employee per month. But they ended up getting rid of all their servers. So he said at Kennametal, they had to do a presentation to their upper management, corporate management, to their employees and everything to kind of show the benefit of going to this type of approach. But, they had to present it in a number of different ways. So I just wanted to mention that to you. So I just wanted to be clear about this summary assignment. Last couple of things that I really wanted to mention today is marketing yourself. Many of you in class this summer are doing internships. If you aren't doing internships, consider doing one for the fall or the spring. That'll help you develop your skills. Get on to LinkedIn and at least develop a basic profile on there. And if you can't at all on LinkedIn, ask some of your professors or some of your former bosses or current bosses to write a recommendation. That's a good idea. Join professional groups through LinkedIn as well. That's a really, really good idea, and that's something that I would encourage you. If you're a chemical engineer or whatever, join those groups. If you're at college now and they have a student group of a professional organization, join that. I mean, you develop connections and develop friendships as far as that goes. You might even end up going into business with someone. In my drawer here at the college, I keep thank yous or activities or events and things that I've been involved in. I keep all those in a drawer. So if I'm ever applying for something like, 2006, I was nominated for an Outstanding Teaching Award, and so I ended up winning it. But I had a lot of good information that I had in my drawer from different activities that I had been involved in. This semester, we're going to use this College Central /WCCC site for an electronic portfolio. That's a good idea to have an electronic portfolio with samples of your work. The other thing that you can always do as well is have a paper portfolio when you apply for a job and take some samples of your work for projects and so on, with you. So I would strongly, encourage that. And the other point that I would tell you is for your first job when you graduate from college, it's fine to have a resume that you develop through career services or you develop on your own. But as you go and apply for more jobs or higher level jobs, pay somebody $300 to $500 to develop a professionally done resume, and it's really, really worth it. And that's something that I would encourage you to do. I also wanted to refer you to a couple points in our book, especially in Chapter 1. Please take a look at culture and organizations, but especially the global workplace. And that's what we're doing Discussion Board 2 related to, from pages 8 to 10. Especially in dealing with cultural differences. And they also mention some guidelines. Consider these questions for a starting point for your journey towards communication in a global workplace, page 11. Page 12 and 13, especially look on page 13 on communicating internationally, on using simple language, and also in the back of our book on chapter 17, pages 648, 649, and 650, they talk about using simplified, clear English. Sometimes people don't understand idioms from this country compared to the other, because if we say surfing the net or, having my father used to say this, having a bitch session, which means to complain, sometimes people don't understand it. So, use simpler language, even language that not everyone understands. Like there was a guy here who used to use the word right-sizing or downsizing, and basically you could say the person was fired or terminated. That's a simpler use of it. Last chapter that I wanted to refer you to is chapter 14 or chapter 4 on organizing information. Please take a look at that chapter. It goes to the ABC format, abstract, body, and conclusion, the top-down format where you state your main findings and conclusions in the introduction or the abstract, repeat those in the body, and review those in the conclusion. The ABC format, and whatever you do, Also take a look at Chapter 5. It's on formatting your documents with headings, bullets, in-text emphasis, and so on. I place a big emphasis on sentence level writing and also formatting in this class. I'm right at 20 minutes, and so I better stop so this video works. Thanks.